Aloha, everyone. This is Nikki Keohoho, CEO and co-founder of the Drexline World Alliance and Coach Excellence School. Tonight is one of our free classes that we offer the opportunity for you to invite your friends, your associates, your guests, share it with everyone because we want people to get this content, but we also want for them to know about what DSWA is all about and what we offer for you. So glad that you're with us tonight. That chat box is open. Feel free to type things in, or if you need me to repeat something, or if you have any questions at all, we're going to do that. Again, tonight's a little different format. We're using the webinar format because it gives us better analytics and information to know where these leads came from, if it was Facebook or a member or something else. So that's why we're trying this in the webinar format. We'll see how it goes. I like to be able to see you. I don't particularly love to see myself, but I love to see all of you generally. So tonight will look a little different. So we're going to use the chat box, and at the end, we'll open it up for questions. But for now, we're getting started with, hey, moms, take back your summer. I know summer's just beginning for many of you, and you're probably going a little bit crazy already. So how to enjoy your family and make money without all the guilt. Now, I'm going to tell you something about this. This isn't just if you have kids. This is really, maybe it's your spouse, your partner. Maybe it's your mom, your sister, siblings, whatever. We want you to enjoy the summer months. And all of you in Australia, we have several here today. We just want you to enjoy your winter because that's what's coming up, fall and winter. So same thing, but it's just a little different in your scheduling because what happens for you over there is your summer is January. So lots of times people don't come back to work until February, March, and that's not what we want to see happen with you either. So let's get started. Yay, we all made it. Let's celebrate that we made it through the worst part of COVID. I'm holding on to that thought. It's the worst part of COVID. COVID is gone. Last year was a weird year, and a lot of people were homeschooling. A lot of people were working from home, or their spouse was. I had one lady said, I couldn't wait for my husband to retire. And then she said, I don't know that I want him to retire. It was a hard year having him home all the time. So it kind of had a lot of discoveries for a lot of people. So all I'm saying to you is congratulations, you made it through a challenging about year and a half. And we're ready to move into some new things. The countries are opening up. We're able to get out a little bit more. A lot of kids went to summer school. I heard summer schools are up 48% this summer. Because people are wanting to get their kids back into school and get used to that. So a lot of good things are happening, and we really need to pat ourselves in the back that we got through it and we're still sane because lots of people aren't doing so well. So we want to enjoy our family and make money this summer. And there's nothing wrong with doing both. In fact, it's pretty exciting when you get to do both. Here's the thing about family. And making money. Remember, who are we making this money for? It may be for something for the family. So why would guilt be attached to that if what you're doing is in support of your entire family? Maybe it's not for you to buy a new outfit or to buy a Chanel bag. It may not be for that. But so think about that this summer to get engagement of your family. When they know what's in it for them, they're going to be more apt to support you with what you're doing. And there is nothing wrong with kids having chores and participating in that journey. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. Feeling stressed or anxious. This was a theme for this last year, and that's why we're actually starting this whole teletherapy program in our insurance program. It's launching in a couple of weeks here. Because we found that a lot of people were stressed this last year, and the teens, that's why it's 13 and older. We chose to do that because what we found was people that were isolated a little bit, doing things differently than they normally did. There was a lot of change in the world, and that change put people into anxiety and stress. Now I look at this mom here, and she's just trying to say, would you leave me alone? I just need a minute. I just need to get this done. Can you just give me a minute? I can see it on her face. And I don't know if you've ever felt like that. But guess what? Those kids don't know a whole lot different unless they have been taught Example, this is the block of time when I'm going to be working the business. So here are some special toys I'm going to bring down during this time for you guys to do this. Or I have a babysitter coming over during these hours so I can work my business. When we're done, we're going to do something special. We want to find ways to have less stress because we all know that stress and anxiety doesn't just affect us, it affects everybody in our lives, everybody that we come in touch with. And, I took my grandbabies and all of us went this last weekend into the Waikiki Elks, and it's a beautiful, beautiful club right on the ocean. And the pool is beautiful, and you can sit out at your own table and eat lunch. You can walk down the steps and go out to an outrigger or surf. I mean, it was beautiful. When we first got there, the lady behind the counter was a crabola. I mean, she was just crabby. And I felt sorry for her because even when I called to make the reservation, she said, I'm so stressed. Everything is so different. We have to do everything so different. I'm just so stressed. So her stress affected our whole family that was standing there, even the grandbabies. When we went around the corner, they go, she was kind of crabby. She wasn't very nice. So sometimes we let our stress affect other people and maybe don't even realize it. So first of all, understanding what may be causing the stress or that anxiety, and then what can we do about it? And some things we can't do anything about. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But some things we have total control over. So if you want to feel less stress or have less anxiety, you are in control of your life and what you choose to take on and how you choose to handle things. So we'll figure that a little bit more about that in a minute. So are you feeling like a firefighter? It sounds fun in the summertime to have hose out in the yard and kids running around and us hosing ourselves. That sounds fun. But guess what? Sometimes we are people who are constantly putting out fires. And if we don't have a fire, we'll make a fire. That isn't good. That isn't fun. In fact, that is stressful. So if you're feeling this way, it may have something to do with how you are operating. And I'm going to tell you something. If you are feeling like you're the firefighter, you are constantly putting out those fires. You are operating as though everything was urgent, everything. And partly what happens is we make other people's emergency our emergency. When they have something going on, we take it on. Firefighters are also rescuers. They rescue people. That's their job. Our job is not to rescue people, folks. Our job isn't to be in charge of everybody else's life. So I'm just asking you to hold the mirror up for a minute, take a look. Am I a firefighter and a rescue cleaner king? If so, you're probably feeling a lot of stress and anxiety. And sometimes it happens because you're constantly operating in the urgent zone. Everything is an emergency. It's urgent. Now, this little diagram is a really good way to kind of look at your life and to decide where am I operating most of the time? Okay, so we have people that are in urgent here at the bottom right, but it is not important. It's low importance. It really doesn't matter, but it's an urgency that this has to be done this way. It's like at Christmas time when we think we need to bake all those cookies and we think it's urgent because Christmas is around the corner. We got to bake all those cookies. Is it really important? Does it really matter? We've got to decide some of these things. Isn't important that our house be perfect all day long and that the kids are making a mess and we're angry and upset? So we're always operating in that urgent picking up after everybody. We are exhausted. This stuff sucks our energy, folks. Then some people are in the not important and not urgent, and they realize it. So they just kind of go through life. Hey, this isn't really important, so I'm not going to put a lot of focus on it. And it really isn't urgent. They probably have a lot of peace in their life. Now, we all know that there are going to be days that things are really important, that there are days that things are urgent. How did we get to that place of it being urgent and not important, or being urgent and important? And what did we put off to turn it into that? Something to think about. So again, here's another quadrant. It's important, but not urgent. Wow, wouldn't it be nice not to be operating with everything being urgent? So the things that are important, we've put them somewhere in our calendar to address them before they become urgent. Some people say, I work well under stress. I love that sense of excitement with, oh, it's due now. I do well there. You may do well, but you don't know what that's doing to your body, to your health. You don't know. You can't always tell on the outside what that's really doing to your body. So, everyone, take a few minutes and evaluate, where am I operating? If it's important and urgent, and you know you didn't put this off for 6 months, that's what it's like taxes. I drove by the post office the last day that the taxes were due, and there was a line clear around the block. We all knew we had the date, then we all knew the date was extended, yet people were in the important and urgent and stressing about it. Just take a picture of this slide and think about it. Where do I operate? Where am I most of the time? Because if you're out there, always an urgent, always, this is very important, not being able to discern what really isn't quite so important, we're adding anxiety to our life. And not just to us, to all the people around us. So, how do you release things that are out of your control? The word release is an important word here. Release means it's gone. It went out into outer space. It's not here. Let go of, I can grab it again. So release is more permanent. So how do you release the things that are out of your control? See, sometimes we want to control everything. We want to be in charge of everything. And in actuality, the only thing that we can control in our life is what we think, what we say, what we do, how we respond or react to things, how we look at the world. We're in charge of us. You may think you're in charge of everybody else, or your children, or your husband, or your team. Uh-uh. The bottom line is they'll figure that out for themselves. I can't be responsible for everybody else of how they think or feel or what they do. All I can do is take control of me and be a model for other people in my life. So releasing means I have a little button on my refrigerator. It says release. You just hit that button. But I just put a pretend button on my thigh and I push that button. I say release. How can I release this now? Because when I release it, it's gone. How important is this situation in the rest of my life? These are good self-coaching questions. How important is that person in the rest of my life? How much control do I have over what that person thinks or says? What can I do right now to release forever that sense of responsibility that I have around that? Because just like we don't have control over the weather, we don't have control over the traffic, we don't have control over taxes, we have a million things we don't have control over. Yet some people worry and stress about those things that we have absolutely no control over. The only thing we have control over is what we do with it. My grandma used to say, worry is like being in a rocking chair. You rock and you rock and you rock and you go nowhere. You're in the exact same place when you stand there. And I've thought about that often because I really work to release things so I don't worry a lot. Because I know worrying is pressure on my heart, is pressure on my thinking, it causes stress. I understand all that. So if I have no control over the situation, my worrying will do no good. I'll be in the same place. So some of you are worried right now about, what am I going to do with the kids all summer? How am I going to entertain them? Well, what conversations have you had with your children about that? Like, what would you like to do this summer? What would be fun for you this summer? How do you plan to support the family in household chores this summer. You don't have those conversations, you don't know what's real and what's not. So the things that you release are the things you have no control over. You have control over having a conversation to find out what can work and what won't. Communication is a key to having less stress in your life. Communication is a key to having less anxiety in your life. In other words, communication with yourself and communication with the people around you. Don't just hold it all in and rock in the rocking chair and be worried. That ain't going to do you any good. So release, learning how to release is a big thing. So how to compartmentalize things in your calendar. When do you block things off? How do you block things off? When do you put things into the calendar and really commit to making that happen? What does your family know about your calendar? You know, when my kids were little, and we had a lot of, they were always in sports, very active. My husband and I were both working. So we had a big 120-day calendar on the wall in the kitchen. And everybody could put their stuff in that exact same calendar. Now we use Google Calendar, but at that time that was a visual for the little kids, everybody could see it. And so we could see if Grace had softball on a certain day, we knew somebody had to pick her up and get her there and get her home. We knew that. So then either my husband and I would write our name in there. And we made sure. And we had a Friday night meeting every Friday night where we talked about the things that were going on in our calendar. Who had what was happening. They were responsible for it themselves, because if they didn't tell us and it wasn't in the calendar, we had no way of knowing. You know how your kids tell you at the last minute, oh, Mom, I need a birthday cake for school today. Well, what am I going to whip one out? So it's like they needed to be responsible and learn how to be responsible for what they needed and if they needed our support in that. So compartmentalizing in your calendar means I block off time for phone calls. I block off time to go to the pool with the kids. I block off time for dinner. I block off time for me. I'm doing my nails today. Block off time. So compartmentalizing. And you can do it in different colors. You can do things that are a purple for me. You could do a red for the children. You could do a green for the business. You could, whatever color. That's another way to block things off as in color. Because what that does is you can look at it and say, if I was to say I was living in harmony by looking at this calendar right now, how true is that? Because if everything is the color of work, you're probably not living in harmony. If you don't have a date time or conversation time blocked up with your husband or your partner, you're probably not making time to do that. It's pretty much in your face. So really, what matters to you in your life? What's important to you? That's kind of where you want to start with it. What matters most? And so if you look at this summer and you're thinking, well, I gotta make money, but my kids are driving me crazy, or I gotta get into swimming lessons, it's really important. Who else can you ask for support from? Who could you trade with for time? What really is important? What is a nice to have and what is important? What can I release? When you start to look at your calendar, what you end up seeing is what your life really looks like right now. So it's like it's like us taking control of the calendar instead of the calendar running away with us. I just said this to somebody today. They had a bad thing happen. It was really this morning. And they had a bad thing happen. And somebody made a decision and changed their mind from a decision that was made last week that they were counting on. And she said to me, I'm so disappointed that this happened. And I said, how much control do you have right now over that situation? And she said, well, I really don't have it. So I said, so how can you compartmentalize this situation so the rest of the day goes better. And this is something I learned a long time ago. And she's seen it before. But it was taking that situation, opening the cupboard door and putting it in this cupboard and setting it on the shelf and close the door. And because I can't do anything about it right now, I can't change that situation right now. Maybe a little time for me to think and a little time for them to think, we'll come up with something. But for right now, me fretting or worrying about that situation is going to do no good. So this is not just compartmentalizing it in our calendar, it's compartmentalizing it in our life. So where do you put things that your mind can trust that it's going to be there when you're ready to go back to it? So I have a cupboard that is, nobody can see it, it's invisible. And I have put many things into that cupboard. And when I open it up, there's something I haven't dealt with yet, I'll deal with it. Or I'll say, now's not the time, keep it here in the cupboard. It's like taking situations and breaking them down into manageable steps. Sometimes we think we have to deal with everything right now. Sometimes we think we're the only one that can deal with it. Sometimes we don't want to look weak, so we don't want to ask other people for support. There's a lot of reasons why we get this word overwhelm into our life, stress, anxiety, and we're in charge of our time. We are in charge of our calendar. Nobody else is. We can say no. Read my lips. No, no, no was a good word. Nobody died of a no, I promise you. It's okay to say no. That's part of the challenge for many women. We think we need to say yes to everybody, for everything. It's up to us, so we got to do it all. That there used to be a saying, if it is to be, it is up to me. Not necessarily. If you choose to take it on, it's up to you. But you don't have to decide to take it on. I'm hoping this is making you think a little bit. I'm curious, what thoughts have come up for you so far? Can you type it into the box there? If you have a thought that has come up so far, type it into the box, or a question, or a comment. And I realize, I apologize that we're trying this new webinar format and we don't get to see you all, which is normally the case. But anybody else have a thought? I love the cupboard idea. Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you. No one died of a no, I promise you. They didn't. They just aren't used to it yet from you. And you can do it in a nice, kind way. People used to think when I had a home-based business that, well, she's not really working, so she can be the room mother. She can bake the cookies. She can go on the field trip. She can do everything. And I guess early on didn't value myself enough to know I am working. This is my career. I'm building a business. I'm the CEO of my own company. So yes, I am working, but I didn't know how to do that. So one time, I'd been the room mother for like 3 years in a row. And so the new class, that teacher says, Nikki, you are such a great room mother. I'd love to have you be our room mother again. I know you're really good at it. And I said, well, thank you so much. And I feel I am good at it. And I've taken that opportunity for the last 3 years. And I'm certain there are some other mothers in this class that haven't had a chance to be asked yet that would love to do it and be very good also. And I'd love to give them that opportunity. So thank you again for asking me. She was like totally shocked. But guess what? Others can step in. Give other people the opportunity. We don't need to be there for everything. So here, someone said, I love your clarity and calm demeanor. I need to work on that. People say to me all the time, Nikki, how can you be so peaceful? How can you be so peaceful? I believe that we all can carry our peace with us. We can always carry that joy with us. Doesn't matter where we are. Doesn't matter what we're doing. It's a choice. We can carry anxiousness and angst with us. I choose peace over that. So before I get to go somewhere, like I had a flight that was like 5 hours late one time, which was going to put me into New Zealand about an hour before my event. And I went up and said, are there any other options? Can I? So everything in my control, I did. So then I'm on the plane and I reached out to the people, explained the situation. And that whole trip could have been just anxiousness. I slept the entire trip because what I did was I said, how much control do I have over this? None. What can I do? Well, I could pray that things will go well. What can I release? The fact that they will all fall apart, the event will be a mess if I'm not there, because that's not true. There's plenty of capable people. They'll do just fine. I'll just change the time and start later. I went through this whole mental thing beforehand, and then I just slept. So when I woke up and came in, I did have an hour. Somebody was right there to pick me up, and we got there, and I put on some lipstick and combed my hair and jumped up on stage, and all was good. But just think if I'd been worrying for those 5 hours, how would I have shown up? Not very good. Not very good. So my husband, he values my contributions because I work from home. How can I change that? We can cover that in this next class, the $29 class for free to members this month. We are going to cover some of that because here's what happens. I'll just say, I'm going to answer a little bit of it because I really want you to get this. Sometimes they don't know how you are contributing unless you tell them. So if you're going out to dinner tonight, say, I'm so happy that our home-based business, our family business, good terms, our family business is paying for this dinner tonight. Thank you, everybody, for your support to make this a reality. Let them know what the money is going towards. You're not just spending it. You're putting it, if you're stopping at the grocery store on the way home from your event, you have cash, they never know what you did. But if your tax benefits, all those things, you've got to get him to see that you are contributing in a different way. Just working from home is a contribution because you're there for your family. That is a big plus, folks. You're contributing because you're there. Take care of the dogs or whatever it is, you're at home. So, but we are going to talk about that more in the next class, and I appreciate you asking that question. Thank you. I've started to let our kids write the thank you cards for our customers when customers order. It has so many benefits. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Marianne. That is you're getting them involved, and they see what it takes to be an entrepreneur and to run that business, and they value you even more. I'm keeping that one. That's a really, really good thought. So compartmentalizing is important. So how are you present where you are? How do you get to be present where you are? Sometimes I just talked to somebody this week. It was a young girl, and the mother was having some challenges with her daughter, kind of going off and not being the person she's been in the past. And she's a teenager and things happen. But one of the things she said to me was, my mom has got her phone in hand at all times. At dinner, she texts people back. She goes to watch my ball games, she's on the phone. She said, I don't feel she cares. Now, I might have just stabbed a few of you in the heart over that, and I know that. I'm just telling you, if that's the perception of the child, that's something you've got to work on. Where can you be present without multitasking? Especially when it's time with your family. The dinner time. Nobody died of a voicemail. They kind of expect it, particularly at dinner time. But if you run and rescue that phone, it's saying that phone and that person is more important than your family. So you've got to have some guidelines for yourself. Where can I be 100% present? Be 100% present with your spouse, with your team, whoever you're with. It's in the moment. It's like you have blinders on. I watched some horse race the other day that just walking through the living room. And those horses have on those blinders. So all they see is straight ahead. And I'm not a horse person, but I get that premise because they're running right beside you. You don't want the horse turning their head and looking at it. So what I'm saying to you is, in life, yes, you can notice the beauty around you and all that stuff. You can't use all those things as a distraction from you being present. It's called focus. It's called listening, not looking at your watch, not answering the phone, not texting, not being on the email. When those children come home for after school or they've gone for the day and they've come home, you've got your fingers on that keyboard. I'm gonna tell you something. There is no super glue there. They're not stuck. You can stop doing what you're doing. It'll still be there when you get back. Go in and talk to those family members. What was the best thing that happened today? What did you love about your day? Ask something and talk. Sit down with them. Be present with them in the moment. You know, one of the nicest compliments I've ever had is from, my grandchildren when they say, Mimi, you always have time for us. You always listen to us. And they'll knock on the door before they come in. And they know if I don't answer, that means something's happening in there that I couldn't right now. But they also know, because we talked about it in advance, that I'll come out as soon as I'm done with this. Or they'll come in and open the door and do this. And I do this and they go back out because we've set that up in advance. So I can be present with them. My husband and I go to dinner, we talk to each other. We listen to each other. We ask questions of one another. We don't read the paper like the old people we see in the restaurants. Nobody talks. That isn't good. You have precious moments in life. Being in that place of, I have 10 minutes right now. How can we make the most out of these 10 minutes? How can we create magic in 10 minutes? We have a saying, I guess, in our families. It's so important to make moments that no one ever forgets. That they're just magical moments, and you can do it with just a couple. But it's like what's so beautiful is that nobody ever forgets them. One night, my son was talking to me about magical moments from when he was a kid. And he remembered things that were just like amazing to me that he thought of, and the activities that we did, or what maybe I said to one of his doctors to make him feel proud. I remember one doctor said to him, "You're never going to play sports. You can't. It's too dangerous for you. You cannot play sports." And he said immediately to the doctor, "You telling me I can't play sports is like putting me in a box and putting a lid on. And that doesn't work for me." And he goes, "And Mom, you stood by me. What you said to the doctor was, Dane loves sports and we can find a way. So I'm just asking that you listen to him and honor what he's saying, and then we'll figure out how we can do this." He brought that up. I didn't know that was a big thing for him. And he brought it up to me. Because Mom, when you said that, it said, you didn't think I was just a kid. You saw me as a person and you stood beside me. Little things make a big difference. Being present where you are, honoring the people that you're with. Remember, being present is a gift. It's a gift to all, a gift to all. So being present. So letting go of the guilt and enjoy the summer. I looked this up because I was curious about this. I looked up the definition, and it's a definition of between guilt and shame. And they're different. In psychology, guilt is defined as an emotional state that appears when we feel we have failed to live up to the morals of ourselves or others. So maybe your mom said, "You're not spending enough time with the kids." So we have guilt. Or your husband says something like that. And we have guilt. The main difference between the shame and the guilt is that shame makes you see yourself as a bad person, while guilt implies you are a good person who did something bad. Now, isn't that interesting? So sometimes we shame ourselves and sometimes we feel guilty. Neither is good. They're just different. So if you're the person that says, "Gosh, I really should be with my kids right now. I should be putting more time in with my children." So you're feeling guilty because you think it's not enough what you're doing. That guilt is taking away your joy and your energy. Then we have the people that are working their business. They think that they are with their kids. Then we have the people that are with their children and have a lot of guilt or shame around, I should be further along in the business. I'm not working. I need to be further along. Neither of those is going to help you enjoy your summer. Neither one. They're both going to take away from your joy. So letting go of guilt and shame and being in the moment, knowing where you're going to put your time, blocking that time off in your calendar, and then honoring yourself and doing that, and then letting go. I'm serious. When that phone is ringing, like I'm taking one of my grandbabies to the zoo, so I'm taking all the kids to the zoo with their papa, and so when we go to the zoo, I'm not taking my phone in there. I mean, my husband will have his if there's a real emergency, somebody will know how to get a hold of it. But otherwise, I'm not taking it because guess what? I want to be 100% present with them. One of my granddaughters, we call her the elephant whisperer. She walks up to the fence and just says hello, and they all come over to her. It's the weirdest thing. So this time I'm getting pictures of her being the elephant whisperer. I want to be in the moment with them. No guilt, joy, joy. That's what this is all about. I have a couple of thoughts here that have come in from all of you. These days, I'm reflecting, remembering what I loved as a child. And I'm asking myself, am I creating those types of moments with my children? What will they remember about their childhood? Wow, that's a good reflection on your part. What will they remember? Will they remember your stress, or that you got that extra dollar in sale, or that you took the phone call during dinner? What are they going to remember? And sometimes it doesn't matter if it's true, it can be their perception. So be aware of what their perception is so that you can work around that. And I know I'm over time and I'm so sorry, but I have a lot I wanted to share tonight. And I'm going to come back around. I'm going to stay because we're going to give everybody a chance. If you want to talk, you can let me know and I'll unmute you. You can type right now into the box your ahas or what were your takeaways from tonight, something that has come up for you. And then if there's something you want to be coached on, I'm going to stay and do that for people too. But there are some upcoming classes and courses that we have coming up. Coach Approach for Sales and Service. That class is June the 15th to July 1st. Starts next week. It's very simple. Go to dswa.org/events and you'll be able to see how this class works. It's a very inexpensive approach to learning and starting off with coaching. And it will benefit you with your family as well as your business. It's both. You're really making a commitment to both when you take that class. So I hope you'll get registered. There it is, dswa.org/events. And it is, you'll see how long it is and how much time is involved. And so it's very concise. But I'll tell you what, it'll support you in everything you're doing. Then we have our Coach Approach, that is our Coach Excellence School. The live webinar is July 8th is when it starts. This is our level 1 class. So the good news is you could do Coach Approach for Sales and Service and then go right into the live webinar series if you'd like to. We've never had anybody that said this was not worth my money, ever. It is so worth your investment in yourself. And this is the time that the kids will get something. So if I walked out of either one of those classes, I would say, kids, this is what mommy learned today about being a parent, about being present with you. This is an area that I'm working on. I just talked with another young person this week that said, my parents don't ever just notice me and acknowledge me. And I see acknowledgement as such an important skill, and it's taught in both classes from different directions. One from the sales and service side and one for building a team. But it is important. Notice the being, not just the doing of your children this summer. Notice that who they are growing into. You were so responsible how you handled that. That's so creative, that approach that you had to that. And one little girl goes, I do the dishes every day. Yes, it's my chore. But nobody ever says thank you. Nobody ever says, I noticed that, how clean the dishes are. I noticed I didn't have to ask you to do that. It's just expected. And sometimes we as parents feel like that too from everybody else. As a mom, we're the taxi driver, we're the cook, we're the laundry, we're all, and we don't feel appreciated too. Well, think about it in another way. Who in our life can we show appreciation to? And maybe they will show us more. You know, might be. So I'm going to move on to join our community online. There's lots of ways to connect with us. If you're a member, you can be in our member Facebook group. If you've been in Coach School, you can be in the Coach School Facebook group. There's a lot of tools here to support you with those things. So now I want to go back over to the chat box and I'm going to see if there's something that would like to be coached or any questions. So Don says, I have the same feeling with my grandchildren. It's a beautiful thing. Good for you. Anybody else have something you can type into the box that you'd like to be coached around something, and I can ask you to unmute. This is your first training with DSWA. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you, Marianne. And I loved how interactive you were. That was beautiful. Thanks so much. Christy says, most of the time, what our children or spouse needs is different than what we need. Very true. So I'm going to ask my tweens and teenagers the question now of what will you remember about your childhood? Or what would you even like to remember about your childhood? Because maybe it hasn't happened yet. To see their perception now and if their needs are being met. Wise mother, Kristen. Wise mother. People wait till they're grown up and say, well, what did you like about your childhood? Let's find out now, what that is and what matters, what's important. This last Sunday, we all went to the Elks. I just posted something on my Facebook that it's a beautiful pool, it's a beautiful club. And they had a monk seal and a mommy right on the beach, just below the rail. And my grandbabies, Mimi, we got to see a seal together. What are the chances of that? Now you can't touch it, you can't go near it. And they understood all that. It was just so exciting, though, that was part of that experience. And then we all got to go swimming and all that kind of stuff. So here was a light bulb moment from somebody to see their perception now and if their needs are being met. That was, so you see, by sharing that, Christine, you made a difference for someone else. That's really exciting. So you guys, I'm telling you, there's real value to being coached live. And if anybody wants to be coached, I will be happy to unmute you. So I'm going to click allow to talk on all these. So I think all of you now, you're probably muted, but I can allow you to talk. So anybody want to talk? Now's your chance. Let's see. Oh, there's too many. I don't know if I can do it all. I don't think I can do all of you at the same time. But anyway, so anybody, if you got something you want to be coached around, now's the time. It's free. We love free. Thank you, Elaine, for being with us today. I appreciate it. And so I'm kind of starting to see people coming in here. Elaine, oh, thank you, Elaine, for joining us. I see some names that have been before, so I'm just so glad that you're all here. Isabella. So please speak up or type into the box if you'd like to be coached, because sometimes we don't know. See, coaching is not just when you have a challenge. Maybe it's a stretch goal. Maybe it's a blind spot. Maybe it's a limiting belief. Maybe something isn't working for you. Maybe you're not sure what's next. Maybe you've lost clarity. So Christy says, best recommendation for those that are struggling with the time management on home businesses and kiddos under 5 and 6. Anybody else can type into that if you've got any ideas. So time management, I'm just going to say we've all got the same amount of time. Now, this isn't coaching, this is training that I'm giving. And if you want to be coached, I can coach you through that too. But we all have about the same amount of time in a day. It's what we do with that time and how we let go of time. 5 and 6-year-olds don't know what time is. When you say, I'll be just a minute, I'll just be a minute. Get a timer, a little one of those timers, set it for 5 minutes. And when that timer goes off, you better be out there. So have a special box of toys that are up above it. You only bring down when mommy's on the phone or has calls to make. I promise you they will get used to this if you start now with teaching them. I just adopted my youngest sons after being an empty nester. So I'm trying to get back into the groove of being a full-time mom while working. It's been a roller coaster of learning. That is so true. So Elaine, one important thing is, again, is that being present with when you're with them, be with them. When you are not with them, let them know this is mommy's time that I have to do X, Y, and Z. What can you do during this time? It's different with babies, but when they get to be old enough, can you make what picture could you draw for me? What are you looking forward to this summer? Can you make me a picture that I'd love to see that? And then recognize the picture and put it up. Let's see. How do I handle my situation? I have no family member to reach out to for help. So it doesn't need to be a family member. Who do you know in your community that you could barter with? Who do you know that has children that you could, trade time with? What does your community have to offer with different types of there's different types of summer camps, things like that. And I don't know the age of the children, but there's some hope. Somebody was asking a question here. Who was that? I can hear somebody talking. Okay, I don't know who that is that we're getting the background noise, but if you want to unmute, you can. Mute yourself again, that would be good. I can't tell you who that is. It's Brenda. There, it's Brenda. Okay, so I have one new team member and several on the fence. How do I get them to join and be active and stay active? Okay, and then I also had someone that wants to be coached. So Marianne, I'm going to make sure that you get on mute in a minute. I have a new team member with several on the fence. How do I get them to join and be active? So the thing is it's not you convincing them. That's a whole nother conversation about how the new way of engaging people to join you in business. You've got to find out what's important to them, what's in it for them, what are they looking for, what do they want to have happen in this business? What would be a win for them? That's really a big part of this. The active and inactive, if you don't know how to do the emotional why, that's one of the things we learn in that level 1 school. You got to know how to get to somebody's emotional why. Because if they don't know their real emotional reason for being in the business, they generally don't stay. Doesn't happen. So that's something to think through. And again, if you wanted to be coached around that, I could. So let me see if I can find Mary Ann here. Mary Ann, I think that's you. Okay, I'm going to unmute you if I can. Just a second. Let's see. There we go. So Mary Ann, you should be unmuted. See if that's working.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now, yes. So tell me, let's see if I can find it. You said I could use coaching around my block of getting help. What do you mean getting help?
So I know that I need help because we've kind of stayed around the same area or size and growth of our business, but I recognize because I've been doing all the things all by myself. And so, I know I could get help with more childcare, more house help, more assistance. And it's just overwhelming for me. And I think the thought of taking time to find the help, it's like, well, that takes a lot of time away from my work. And then I just don't do it. And then I go back into default of me doing everything. And we just keep going around this mountain and can't do it anymore.
Okay, so Mary Ann, first of all, I'm going to make a statement or share a thought with you that you can process later. And then I'm going to ask you some questions because coaching is really about, it's not training, it's the opposite of training. But I want to give this for everybody because just the word help is, we teach something called enlightened vocabulary in school, in our schools. Enlightened vocabulary are words that empower or disempower. And help is not one of the best words because what happens is my guess is in the back of your mind, I need help. It's sort of like saying I'm helpless. What's wrong with me that I should be able to do all these things? Other people do these things. Why can't I? It may not be out loud and verbal, but it's probably going on in the background. So
Hmm.
I can benefit from some support. Has a different feeling to it.
Hmm.
I can benefit from some support. So which one of those things that you mentioned would be of the greatest value to you, the greatest support to you right now? You mentioned cleaning, you mentioned maybe assistant, you mentioned babysitting, you mentioned several things.
Okay. Do you
Which
want,
one?
is that a rhetorical question? Or you want me to answer?
I'm going to ask you to answer it 'cause I
Okay.
really want to
I
coach
believe
you.
for right now, I do believe the first one would be the more childcare help. I used to be able to task switch and work, while the kids were at home or doing something, but now because of their ages and so many, I have found that in this season, I cannot do both at the same time well by, um, letting them see that their time is valued. And so I do believe having set aside work time is most important now.
Mhm. And that's the 5 children, 3 to 13. Is that correct?
Yes.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so and you're right. When you're trying to do both, maybe you're not doing both as good as you want to be. Either one.
Right.
It's you like. Okay, so what if anything's holding you back from getting that kind of support?
I think just taking the time to find somebody, who's can handle all the responsibilities. I think that's just it.
So where have you looked so far?
I have reached out to a few of my friends at our church, started there. And then I started looking on care.com, and then I didn't find anything at the time. Like I think I saw maybe 5 or 6 people, and then I just stopped and didn't finish the task.
So, and I also heard you say something about that someone that could handle all of them. What other activities are your children in this summer that maybe wouldn't require a babysitter? Some of them.
So far during the summer, they don't have that many. Cheer practices haven't started yet for 2 of the girls, and then karate practice in the evening is about to start up. And my husband is able to, he helps out with transportation and all that kind of stuff as well. But during the daytime, so far, we've just been scheduling activities for us to do together or play dates with friends and things like that. So
Mhm. So who do you know besides the people at your church that may know somebody?
I know my other people who are in my profession might also have some friends that I could network with. Maybe they have a sitter who, on that person's off day, they could come work for me. My mother-in-law is from this community and she knows a lot of people. So I could ask her if she could think of somebody.
So it sounds like you have some choices here, some
I
different
do.
options.
I do.
So what has held you back from making those other contacts to have this become around?
I think just the follow through of sitting down and making sure I get it done and making it a priority instead of just letting everything else come in front of it.
So when will you make this a priority?
Let's see. Tomorrow, I'm thinking through my schedule, and tomorrow is a play day for the kids during the day, but in the afternoon during quiet time, we have an afternoon quiet time scheduled. I can schedule it then, and I can tell my husband, hey, I'm going to look for a sitter today. I'll let you know when I find one this afternoon.
Uh-huh. So it sounds like you're willing to commit to that and block that off in your calendar. I'm curious, on a scale of 1 to 10, how committed are you to making that effort tomorrow?
My effort, I am committed at a 10, and as long as things don't go so crazy, my uncontrollables, as long as too many uncontrollables don't happen, I will I will commit to that.
Okay, and if there is something that happens, when will you reschedule that?
Thursday afternoon, there is some freedom there. I'm
So
ready.
isn't it interesting how you find time when you're
I
making
know it's so interesting, especially when people ask you and hold you accountable to it.
so I'm going to ask you another thing. When you make up your mind in something in your business and that you're going to do it, how often do you do it?
When my mind is made up, it happens. And I
So
recognize,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, for me, I recognize there's a lot that I want to do, that I think about a lot and that I desire a lot, but I can definitely recognize the moments when I am not fully committed. And then the times when I decide I'm going to do something, it happens when I decide. So I recognize that if things aren't happening, it's because I'm not fully committed.
Mhm. How will this benefit the children and you?
Um, I believe they will enjoy more structure
Mm,
and more dependability of knowing, hey, this person's coming. That means mom will be working, which also means when the sitter's not here, mom's not working, and she's with us, or we're doing activities together in the house. We're cooking together, or we're organizing together, or whatever.
mm,
So I do believe it'll definitely bring some more peace into our home and harmony. Definitely more joy back for me. So I'm not, feeling bad, because I do carry a lot of those guilt, crazy things.
in the
Um,
past, in the past.
right. I have in the past carried that guilt. I love the session on guilt that you did. That was a good one.
Mm,
Um, and then also for my husband, because he has voiced to me, he said, it seems like your work is number one and I'm at the bottom. And I told him, I was like, I'm working for us. We've had this
mhm.
conversation. So I'm trying to work on how can I work it so that he feels that he's at number one. And so I believe we're respecting that work time that's set aside, that's totally separate from family, for us, is what is necessary for us.
Good for you. Sometimes we got
Right.
to get hit over the head with a hammer, and we go, oh, I didn't realize that was going on. But it's a good thing that he spoke up, because sometimes they don't speak up and then it gets him to be a big, giant elephant in the room.
Oh yeah.
So I like him.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
good for you. So it's taking that time. So, and let me ask you another question. When do you go on dates?
That is a great question.
Any answers?
That is not our strong suit. So that is definitely in an area that we need to decide and make a priority.
Mm. So when would you have that conversation with him?
I think tonight's a really good night when I get off this call.
Good for you. So you think it's tonight, or is it going to be tonight?
Well, because we're on live and in front of all these people, I'm going to go ahead and tell you it's tonight, and I'm going to make it happen because I've decided, and I know he would
Good.
appreciate it and it would make him really happy.
Which
And me
will make you
too.
happy. That's it.
Yes,
I'm excited
yes.
for you. So I'm going to tell you, because you haven't been through a coaching school, what just happened. Part of this process was, they're called empowering and powerful questions. So they're questions that we ask you that only you have the answer to. I don't know you. I don't know what's best for you. You know yourself. That was one of the skills. Heart-centered listening was the second skill. Listening to the meaning behind the words. So my job as a coach is to hear, not just hear the words, but to feel if there's a feeling attached to that word. We didn't do any compassionate feedback. We didn't have any blind spots. I definitely did agreed action and accountability. So agreed action and accountability is when I ask you what you're going to do, when you're going to do it. I didn't ask how you were going to do it because of time, but that is a skill that can be developed. And I didn't let you slide because you said, I think I would, I'd like to, I probably could. Any of that kind of stuff is not a commitment.
Okay.
People say that to you to have you think that they're making a commitment, and they're not. They're just saying what you want to hear. And that's why they do it like that. And then the last skill is called I see you acknowledgement. And that is acknowledging the person you are being, who you are. And the way I would acknowledge you, and this is totally what I understand about you, is that you care deeply about your family and the relationships within your family. You also have a strong work ethic. You have enough desire inside of you that you want to to be able to be good at whatever you do, not at the expense of one of you. That's a beautiful book.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Honey. Take care. Have a good night. So you can mute yourself again. I've got another person. How would you go about starting the conversation with your family about growing pains that will be happening with mom being more committed in working if I haven't done a good job in respecting my business at this point? Thank you so much for asking that. So Christy, would you like to be coach live on that, or do you want me just to give you some answers?
Oh, sure. I'm
Okay.
here, so
Oh,
let's do
good.
this.
Okay. So Christy, you said in the past you didn't do as well as you wanted to with respecting your business. So what makes you say that?
I think it's because I know that I'm not where I have the potential to be, and that has been one of the things that I like. My mom wasn't around a lot, and so I feel like I give myself a lot of guilt of just wanting to make sure that I'm there for my kids, because I didn't feel like I had that growing up. And so I want to make sure that they know that I am here, they can rely upon me. But I think because of that, you know, sometimes when we have a lack of something, then we take it to the extreme on the other side as well too. And so I think that's really where it's coming from, is I know that I'm not where I have the potential of being with my business, but I know that I also want to be able to have that message for my kids that I am there for them.
So what is the message the kids have now?
I don't know. I think in some situations, like, that's why I'm just like, wow, that question of just, you know,
Michael, thank you for everything.
the remember about your childhood, you know, like, what do you want to remember about your childhood and stuff like that? That's where I'm like, wow, that's a really powerful question that I can see their perspective. And stuff like that. And so that's why I was just kind of like, oh, I really like that question to kind of figure it out. But I think for the most part, they think that mom is the only answer, is what I've given them, is really what I could say.
So in other words, when they come, mom is the only answer. Tell me more about that. I want to understand what that means.
Well, I mean, I delegate responsibilities. Like, I do charts for my kids and they have chores and all of that kind of stuff. But when it comes to like problem solving things of like that hasn't already been delegated very well, then mom is always the one that they come to. You know, like, for instance, just as I was getting on an earlier Zoom that I was doing for my business, my family was going swimming. And it was like a spur of the moment thing that they did. And then all of a sudden the 20 questions came to mom, like, where's our swimming towels? Where's our swimsuits? You know, where's all these types of things? So it wasn't something that was already regimented and a part of the delegation process. It was something that it was all like, where is all of this stuff type thing. Does that make sense?
It does. And you're going to love Coach School, because here's what happens. We don't realize we become the answer queen. And everybody needs to come to us for everything versus them being resilient. So a question is, where do you think your goggles might be? Where, if you were to put your goggles at a place that your mind would trust where they'd be, where would you look right now? Because what happens is we just give all the answers and then they keep coming back to us. Then everybody's dependent on us. And then if something doesn't work, it's our fault. And the same thing happens in our business. We tell someone what to do next, and then they do it, it doesn't work, then it was our fault that it didn't work. I'm just asking you to put that over on the side and go back and think about that. How can you empower people around you, including your children? Having the answers for everything is not necessarily teaching them how to be independent. How did that land with you? I don't mean to sound cold. I'm just.
I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it. It's actually hilarious when you say that, because I do a phenomenal job in doing that when I'm coaching people in business. That I don't take the responsibility for their choices, and I allow them to come through the solutions themselves. You know,
Yeah.
I do great at that in my business. And it was just like a light bulb moment of like, dang girl, you have the skill to do that in your business. Why don't you put that to your family?
They are interchangeable. That's why everybody that takes our courses say, I got just as much from my family as I did with my business. I learned just as much of communication with my own family as I did with how to do this with business. And I'm happy about that because they're intermingled. Home-based business means that you're home and you're working with people around you all the time, so that it's gotta work in both places. So I want to go back again. So I hear what you're saying about, that you, but I also feel that's guilt from you that's saying, I have all this potential. I'm going to say this to everybody. This is just a life lesson. When people say to you, you have so much potential, what the person is hearing behind that, like if somebody said that to me, what the person, me, would be hearing behind that is that you're not applying yourself. You have potential you're not using. So it isn't a good term for us or to give to anybody else without, we never thought about it like that. I'd say that to people in the past. I'd say you have so much potential. But then that's what ADHD kids hear all the time. You have so much potential, but you're just not applying yourself in school. And it is kind of a hidden deal behind it. So I'm going to ask you to reframe. So instead of I have so much potential, I have a lot of skills and abilities, and I'm ready to put those to work in the business. How does that feel? The difference between those two?
I think that exactly explains where I am.
Mm.
Is that quite honestly, if you would have talked to me 6 months ago, then I would have been saying I have potential because I had the skill, I have the skills, but I wasn't applying it.
Yes. Okay. So now you're ready to apply. So it's the conversation with the family. So when do you have family meetings or where you all get together and talk about it?
We usually have that once a week, and it's either usually like on Sundays or Mondays, one of those, just because those are our days that are not as chaotic.
Mhm. So what would you want to say to them or express to them?
I think I want to express to them, quite honestly, I don't want to take the load anymore.
Mhm. So how would that land if you approached it that way?
Well, that would not be good to say it that way.
Good thought.
That's the honest truth.
Mhm.
And so it would be better to say something like, I want us to be able to have a team effort, and I want to have more learning opportunities for you as children to be able to become more independent and problem solve on your own, so you can gain that confidence.
Wow. So what I'm hearing you say is that it's more like it's an opportunity for them versus I don't want to take control of this and be in charge of everything. I want you guys to do it, which was kind of the first pass. The second pass is this is something I'd like to be. It's a learning experience for all of us.
Yes.
A little bit different. Okay, so I'm sitting here thinking about your family and how they would perceive it. So I'm going to move out of coaching again just because of time, and I had really wanted to stay a little extra, but I know we're going quite a bit over. But I just want to give everybody a couple thoughts. This is communication with your family about this when you're stepping it up in your business is important. Otherwise, they don't know what happened. So family. What would our family goals be this year? What would you like to see happen as a result of our family business? It's a great way to get them thinking from this is about me. The family goal might be a holiday. Family goal might be new outdoor furniture. Family goal might be a car. Family goal might be going to visit the neighboring park. I don't know what it is, but what would our family goal be? So that's getting them to think. That's one thing that you can do to say, I have really made an effort through these beginning years with all of you to be here for a lot of things. for you, and I want to continue that. I also see building our family business will be good for all of us. So I wanted to make you aware that this, in the upcoming months, I'm going to be investing a little more time than what I have in the past. So I want to know how you would like to contribute to the household when I'm doing those things. How would you like to contribute? And they might all have different, I can do dishes, or or they might say, well, I make my bed. I mean, I don't know what they're going to say, but they got to know what this means. It doesn't mean you're abandoning them. It means that you're going to have, your time will be diverted differently. And together, because it's a family business and all this is what's in it for all of us, they will probably be more apt to step up than if you said, Mommy's going to be working more, so I need you guys to help. That doesn't generally work. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. I'm taking notes. That's why there's silence.
Good. You will also get this recording. And when you get the recording, write those down and then come up with your own. You're going to do great. You love your family. You care about your family. You want what's best for everyone. And it's kind of your turn. And you want to empower them so that they can go out on their own at some point and make good decisions. I laugh at my kids now, but I remember Grace saying when she went away to college, she said, Mom, I get what you and Dad were doing. She said, I'm the only one of my roommates that knows how to order their own pizza, how to make their own doctor's appointment, how to look for in the grocery store. They missed out on learning how to get ready for life. I get it now. So you're really supporting them at a good time for them to get ready for life and to be responsible. It's going to make a difference for them. When they see you with a vision of something that you're wanting to do, example, build a business, you're teaching them about setting goals and about going after what they want in life. You're being an example of that. How does that feel?
It feels great. And that goes along with the vision that I do have, because I want to be that example that my children can say, wow, Mom did hard things, but we can do it too.
Mm-hmm. And we can do it.
And we can do it too. Yes. And we can do it too.
Beautiful. So I am so appreciative that you spoke up today, and I hope that was really valuable to you. I know we went over, and I know that beyond what we had planned, I just, when I have just minutes with people, it brings me great joy to have people figure something out for their lives. And you all stayed the course, man. Almost everybody stayed the whole time. So thank you for your time today. I wish you the best. Enjoy your summer. Be present. Have fun. See what you can do to engage your family and have them and all of you together making moments and beautiful memories. And you can't just talk about it. It's a way of living. How do you choose to live your life? What do you want to look back on when you get older and say, oh, I really worked hard, but I didn't make any money and I felt guilty the whole time? Or, yes, I worked the business. I really was present with my family, and I made the best of the time that I had. Under the circumstances, best of time with the time that I had. That's a beautiful memory. One of the things my dad said to me before he passed away in the hospital, he said, Nikki, I lived a full life and I have no regrets. I'm just telling you, that was a beautiful thing to have that happen. And I wish you all the same. Take care, everyone. Have a beautiful day. Aloha. And a great summer.